Hello readers, welcome back to PJL Books and welcome to today's Off the Shelf. Today's Off the Shelf topic is titled, Who Says Said? One of the most contentious arguments in the writing world, and certainly the easiest indicator of amateur writing when used incorrectly, is the usage of that innocent little four-letter word, said. Because regardless of what genre you are writing in, what you intend for the length of your final product, or how traditional or experimental you are, you will almost certainly be using dialogue in some shape or form, meaning you will need to decide what dialogue tags you will use. And by far and away the most common form of a dialogue tag is said. Now, writing advice tends to fall into two extreme camps when it comes to the usage of said. One camp will insist that you avoid said at all costs and instead push yourself into new creative grounds with flavourful and interesting vocabulary. The other camp insists that you should use nothing but said, as any other dialogue tag is flowery, awkward, and distracts from the narrative rather than add to it. Let's look at an example of what both camps proclaim to be the best course of action then. Now, coming up on the screen in a moment is a quick dialogue exchange that I put together as some kind of gritty remake parody of Jack and Jill for some reason. I can't read it out for you aloud, that would defeat the purposes of the exercise, as you'll see in a moment. So when it comes up, please pause the video, read it, and when you're finished, please unpause the video and we will continue. Well, what do you think? Although at first you might think that this isn't too bad, bear in mind that this is a tiny snippet of what could be a much bigger story. And even within this sample, those fancy dialogue tags were beginning to wear thin, I'd wager. Can you imagine what dialogue would look like several pages down the line? We're going to have to resort to archaic language like admonished, and shoehorning other words into dialogue tags like contradicted. The problem here is that these ostentatious dialogue tags suck up all of the energy from the action. Imagine that the dialogue tags weren't there anymore, and suddenly you're left with this blank husk of a dialogue exchange because there's nothing else there. So from these dialogue tags, the poor reader has to decipher a huge amount of info from those tags. What the characters are feeling, how they're saying it. I mean, for example, who really knows what admonishing looks like? What actions are happening when they are saying it? The works. It makes for a really pretty, miserable reading experience. And it's not like you as the writer can remedy that by adding all of those things back into the prose, because when combined with flamboyant dialogue tags, it can come off as being extremely melodramatic. Now let's repeat that little exercise with the other extreme, by only using said. Once again, a dialogue exchange will come up on the screen, slightly different from the last one. Please pause again, and when you're finished reading, please unpause and we'll continue. Well, what do you think this time? Well, we've certainly rectified the problem of the dialogue tags being too distracting. And sure, as an exchange between the two people, it flows better. But that's because there's nothing to go on anymore. It just reads like a dry and emotionless script. The word said is neutral in its meaning and action, and therefore conveys none of the energy and power needed to really make this scene jump out of the page. So, what can be done? It's clear that neither of these extremes work, so the best practice must lie somewhere in the middle. Next week, we'll dig deeper in the search of that best practice and how to plug it into dialogue to really bring it to life. And that's it for today's Off the Shelf. Thank you very much for listening, readers. The written version of this is up on my PJL Books website, the link of which is in the description below, along with all of my other links, so please check them out if you can. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.